Oh, there we go.
Hello. Welcome in, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, thank you so much for the follow. We are a fraction of Michelle in the Pit. I'm going to be hosting today's stream. My name is Michelle, and with me I have the audio director for Beastieball, M, and sound designer, Preston. Do you guys want to talk about what games you've done in the past? Just a little intro.
Sure, yeah. I'm M, and I have worked on several other Wishes Unlimited games, which has always been really fun. I did Wandersong, it was one of my first games, and Chicory, also with Preston. And yeah, I've worked on a bunch of other stuff in the past. Did Untitled Goose Game, recently Pacific Drive, and excited to play through and talk about Beastieball.
Well, I'm Preston, and I also, Chicory was one of the first games I worked on and had the pleasure of doing that with M, and now with Beastieball. It's been a similar pleasurable experience. I've worked on, most recently, some games like Gubbins and Thank Goodness You're Here. And yeah, excited to talk about some Beastieball design.
Yeah, have either of you played much of this game, either during development or after early access launch?
Yeah, I mostly played cheating, I will have to say. But I played it many times, mostly well, first I played it a few times to get all the captures, and then a few more times to mix it and test all the levels and things like that. I haven't got around to playing it just for funsies yet. I think I might watch my partner play.
It seems like a pretty complex game. I've played a bit of it. Let's swap over to the game now. Okay. Do you think you can recognize every single beastie if I were to show them? Would you remember? How many are there? Would you know?
Over 100.
Over 100?
I forget the exact number.
Okay. And then when you were designing for each beastie, did they come with their art already, or was it sometimes just a name and a description?
Yeah, we always waited. We had this big spreadsheet, and we only started work on the voices when the art was at a certain level. It didn't always have all the animations, but it at least had like a concept art. You can see the concept art in this menu
in the
if you want. In the Beastiepedia.
Ooh, where would
if you click on one, I think, and then morphology. No.
Oh, I'd have to complete. Let's see this one maybe.
You have completed
this.
Visual studies.
Ooh.
Yeah, that seems right. So this is often what we would see. So we had like a pose for each, and yeah, I feel like I don't remember the names of all the beasties, but I remember editing the voice.
Whoa, it's pretty extensive.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch these come in from all the artists.
Yeah, I don't think I've even seen all of these, because for the voice we would get just a handful of these photos to go off of for what emotions to voice act for each beastie.
I guess this goes for both of you. Since you both worked in Chicory, did you find that you had any audio, aesthetic, or technical similarities between Chicory and Beastieball, as well as Wandersong, if you can talk about that, Em?
Yeah, I would say for me, Beastieball felt pretty different because a lot of the elements were made with synthesis, and for my part in Chicory, at least, most of it was like organic sounds and recordings. We still had a mix of that in this game. And I know Preston's sounds for Chicory were very different because he worked on the boss sounds. But yeah, this one was a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it, but it did feel different. Wander Song was kind of all over the place because it was very expansive, and each different level had its own sonic theme, so there was like a synthesized world in Wander Song. But yeah, what about you, Preston?
Yeah, I feel like between Chicory and Beastieball, like Chicory was a lot more kind of paint and goopiness, while Beastieball, I think we went for a much more synthesized kind of retro aesthetic. And we were also listening to the type of stuff that Lena was making with the music, and that also, I think, inspired how we wanted to approach the design. But like similarity-wise, I feel like with M doing the UI for both, I feel like at least that I can tell that these are M's sounds, and she definitely has like a signature kind of sound. So regardless of whether it's like organic or like more synthy, it does feel like it kind of falls into that M sound that I really like. So,
I was thinking the same thing when I was scrolling through the menu. I think they kind of just fall under the same frequency spectrum. I don't know, your UI sounds are always so thick. There's a bit of a punch to them, but they're not obnoxious or anything.
Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering what it was that would be similar, and that makes sense. I feel like I also have kind of like a method of doing them. Like my select sound is always kind of like this 2-syllable thing, and yeah, like that. Back is always lower in frequency.
Yeah, it's always so satisfying.
Yeah, it feels like a massage for the ears.
I find it interesting though that it's like similar to paint sounds as like a completely different source. Kind of cool. The sound, like the scrolling through options sound, is actually the same sound as the text scrolling, which this is one of the only games I did this for. There's like a 20 or like a lot of variations for it, so I find that kind of makes it fun to scroll through the menus.
Sky Blue Starmoon asks, which one was your favorite to do stuff for? I assume that's about the Beasties.
My favorite to voice was oh no, forget the name now.
The giant spreadsheet.
There, yeah, that one.
Wait, this one?
Troglum. Yeah.
How many? Do you remember how many you voiced? I remember there was like an extensive credits list for the voiceover.
Oh yeah, let me double check. I had it in the that video.
Did you do any voices as well, Preston?
Yeah, I could only manage about 2 or 3 different types of voices, so that was my limit, my contribution.
I did 30.
30? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we have one other team member, Juan, whose vocal range can hit some stuff that we can't. So I think he did a lot more. Did he do more than you, Em, or?
No, I did the most by far. Alexis and Greg and Juan did like 15 each. And then Joey did 7. Joey did the most from Michelle in the Pit.
Let's see if I can get into a match here. One sec. I'm just gonna raise my gain a little bit. Is this better in comparison? Okay.
Yeah. Not that. What were they talking about? Me? Or you?
I think
Me?
I think you bumped your gain a bit up. In
Yeah,
the
I did.
last... Okay.
Okay, let us know if anything sounded weird.
The worm on the string. So this is actually more, you can, the music is lower now. You set it lower so you can hear the sounds louder than they would be when you're actually playing. Which is actually something I wondered about, if I should make the voices louder. I think sometimes I kind of wanted them to be subtle, but I think sometimes they're not as noticeable as well.
Did you kind of try to take the same approach with each beastie to make sure that they all kind of lived in the same game world? Or were you trying to aim for something so different from each other that they wouldn't be confused with each other if similar ones were on the same court together?
Yeah, that was a big thing we wanted to avoid for sure, especially since there's a few of us that voice so many of them. I think to keep them in the same world, we just made sure to have them all recorded by human voice, and just focused on the emotion and vibe of the beastie. But yeah, keeping track of like, oh, we made a hiss sound already for this beastie, so like we have to do a different one for different kind of sound for this one. It was a like huge challenge. It just consisted of like Greg, Alexis, and I remembering everything we've done.
That's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
Was it your idea to duck the music when a ball is about to hit one of the beasties? Like a moment like this.
Yeah. Preston made the like, I think it came after he made the slowdown sound. There's like that like low end.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who thought of it. Did you think of it, Preston?
I'm having trouble keeping track of all the stuff that's going on the screen. I was gonna say one of the first things that I designed for was like when the whole screen gets this wallpaper when one of the beasties gets hit with the volleyball, and it changes varied on like the impact level of the ball, and that was a really fun thing to design for, because I think Greg and Alexis had the animations all ready to go, and they had like different intensities for the different numbers, and I felt like I was able to find the right sort of textures for that animation. I was really satisfied with how that turned out, and it was a lot of stuff like rulers and pieces of metal like waving around and making that sort of wobbly sound, and a bunch of those things layered together, and that was really satisfying to design.
Which one was it again?
It's like
the receive?
when, yeah, the receive.
Right. Yeah. There's like a whole range of. Oh hey, that's a nuisance. Yeah, should be shaking garbage.
Oh, I knew it. There was like something about that garbage.
Yeah, there's a whole like how many 10 different levels of receive sounds you can get.
Yeah, at least 5. I can't remember how many exactly, but yeah, we did a lot of intensities for that.
You mentioned it was hard to kind of keep track of what you've done. Were there any other challenges you came across when it came to design or the mix or anything else?
Yes. I would say just like in terms of designing and the mix, making sure that everything you need to hear and be like notified of is coming through because there's so much going on in these games. We didn't want to like overwhelm you with too many sounds. And just like making the sounds pop out and making them distinct, I feel is a big thing.
Skyblue asks, did you guys do the sounds for the item jingle? That's when you pick up a gift, I assume?
I think there's both sound and music there. There's like a music stinger, but Preston did the sound.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of these. This thing.
I love that sound. By
The
the way.
boing.
It's so good.
Oh, it sounded really quiet, so that must have been on the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you
make that?
boing? Is this a Preston sound or an M sound?
That's Preston.
How did I make that? That is a good question.
Is part of your voice in that?
It's likely. There's some things. Are those notification things also something I did? I honestly can't remember.
Which notification?
They're little emotes or they're
There's
reactions?
like, yeah, it's slightly lower than the thing that you're bouncing on. Boom. There is something that I do like to do, which is for the bouncy things to add my voice. If I do find like a good bounce sound, just to make it sound like a little more personalized, I guess. 'Cause for anything, for designing anything, you can kind of add your voice in as a layer, and it just gives a little bit more personality to the sound.
Oh, I love that. Also, wait, you should go back to the tent.
Oh yeah.
I'll point out a mistake I made and just kept. Preston made. We made the mistake. We put a zipper in for this tent, and I realized afterwards that it's like a tie tent.
I didn't even pay any attention to that. I was like, yeah, that's a tent for sure.
I thought that was funny. I don't think it was important enough to change. It's also, I think the zipper is kind of like the more distinct tent sound.
Yeah. Who did the run sound or the start sprint sound?
That was Preston.
Yeah, this was
Actually, Go ahead.
I think it might have ended up being you, because this was a sound I really struggled on, trying to get right. Because initially,
you still did the start and stop. I think I just did the loop, but then everybody hated the loop.
yeah,
We
because
did
the
the
loop
loop.
visually kind of looks like a Sonic kind of thing. So I think I initially tried to design something that was similar to what Sonic's kind of spin loop sounds like, and it was just with the amount of times that you do run, it was a little too annoying to have playing all the time. So we needed something a lot more subtle, and Em came up with a really nice loop that fits a lot better.
The loop is actually like really quiet. You can barely hear it. I had it a bit louder, and people like playtesters were saying like audio doesn't usually get a ton of like reports or like feedback requests, but there was like a bunch coming in that said it was reminding people of like being at the dentist. Like,
Oh my
it sounded
gosh.
like a dentist drill. It's like that's not really what the feeling we want to give anyone.
Yeah, I don't know if I. Very subtle.
Yeah, it's basically inaudible now. But I feel like with the feet, it doesn't actually need much. Oh, I also really like the net popping up sound. Did you put your voice on that one?
Yeah, I think so. I think the volleyball, the UI volleyball at the top of the screen that moves from left to right, that was also one of my favorite things to design for.
Accidental Silent Hill sound design. Should have paid more attention.
The sounds during matches are very epic. They definitely not as cutesy as the rest of the game, but it adds energy. What was the inspiration behind specifically the match SFX?
Preston did most of the match sounds, so I feel like you might have a better answer, but like when we were initially thinking about it, the idea was for it to sound kind of like anime, a little bit anime inspired, especially Haikyuu. We watched a bunch of videos of Haikyuu and yeah, tried to match it.
Yeah, I'd say like I didn't really think about specifically like, okay, these match sounds all need to be within the same family, but more so thinking about how during these moments like there's a lot going on visually, and that there are certain things in sound that will kind of peek through the noise, whether it's like harder impacts or you have like higher frequencies. So in that sense, that was something that we thought about for the match sounds, was to have that sort of, those sorts of sounds cut through the noise. Yeah.
It definitely cuts through. I wish I could play the music at a higher level because it mixes really well together. Especially on certain maps. Was the soundtrack finished by the time you started design for sound?
No. We were kind of working on it in tandem. So,
Yeah.
like some levels had music and some didn't have sounds. Some had sounds, some didn't have music, and we kind of just progressed together.
Yeah, I think one of the match soundtracks was definitely one of the earlier ones that was in, so we got to hear that pretty early on.
Yeah. We're gonna have to do a garbage pass, Preston.
Yep.
The ball plays a huge part in this game. I saw recordings of you recording indoors and then Preston recording at a recreational center. Did you use both of those recordings for different parts of the game, or did you have to edit it down so they both... for Preston, did you have to edit it so that the reverb that was really baked into the recording removed, or did you keep that in there?
So yeah, I went and recorded down at my local rec center. They had a squash court, so I just rented that for an hour, brought my microphone in, and the reason I did it there was actually to get the baked in reverb, because if you've ever been in a squash court, it is extremely reverberant, and what I was really looking for was like the reverberation that you get in like a high school gym or something. But because I didn't have access to that, I just figured that this would be the next best thing, and it was extremely you could slap the ball like really loud and get a super nice verbiage. So yeah, I did that for an hour, and I can't remember exactly what those recordings went to, but they definitely were some part of the design. And also I got a bunch of shoe squeaks in there as well, and not sure.
Yeah, the shoe squeaks ended up in. They were like
Okay, yeah.
when it goes back and forth between turns, like between sides. There's like a little squeak that comes up. Yeah, so originally we started with the ones I just recorded in my closet, but yeah, I think we ended up using those squash recordings like in the impacts, the hits and receives. Because I think we tried to put the closet ones in first, but it didn't sound impactful enough, like big enough. It was kind of underwhelming. So I think we ended up using those in just like UI sounds and stuff. Motbad is also asking what kind of ball we used. I assume you also just used a volleyball.
Yep, I just used a volleyball.
Yeah, me too.
They're saying it sounds a lot like basketballs sometimes.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's the heftiness.
Yeah. Or maybe the reverb.
Yeah. Yeah, there's your shoe squeak.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sound that I was really trying to get from those recordings is I guess the tone of the ball. I guess it's like a rubber tone, but what it really reminds me of is if you guys have seen The Incredibles, anytime Violet uses her like force field, that's really kind of the sound that I was going for. And I know that they used some sort of like yoga ball or basketball for those recordings as well. So yeah, it was that sort of tone that
Nice.
we really wanted to poke through.
Yep. There was a lot of sounds. Sky blue star move. Ooh, are you gonna start a boss match?
I think so.
How we did the split of like who worked on the sounds was I feel like towards the end we were more like we did a bit more collaborating in the beginning, but Preston did most of the world sounds and like game sounds, and then I did the Beastie voices and UI, but like only the UI in the menu because we both did UI in the games. So by the world sounds, that's like that sync, like the footsteps, all the like things you interact with. Which I felt like it was a nice division because we each had kept our style, I guess.
Did you have to change much of the workflow from working on Chicory to working on Beastieball? Or did you split the work up in sort of the same way?
Chicory was like pretty different because it was like quite a distinct separation. Preston did all the boss battles, which like looked really different than the rest of the game, which really worked out for having each of our own styles. Did you do other stuff too, or was it just the boss battles? I kind of
It was the majority was the boss battles, and then very late in the game, I think we were splitting up some other stuff. But yeah, it was like 90% of that was the boss stuff. But yeah, I just do what M tells me to do, so that's how we split the work most of the time.
I'm gonna bump the music up just a little bit because I believe each boss has their own bespoke music. Or sorry, what are they called here? Gym leaders? Yeah, this is the streamer one, which I think is fitting right now.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I might lose.
I haven't even been paying attention to like your play style.
Okay, good. That's good for me. What went into the characterization behind the voice acting for the characters that have voices? I know that they don't really speak sentences, it's more so just sounds. Did you have to make any directional notes for any of the actors?
Yeah, we had... I just kind of like listed them all out in our asset list, and then Greg went through and he gave most of the direction. I think I had a couple notes on like the performance, but everyone typically hit it bang on right away, which was pretty cool. We also had, you can hear like crowd a little bit in the background. This was a super last minute addition, which I really think helped a lot in the arena to sell it being this exciting thing. Greg came up with this whole system of like it gets louder when you hit the ball. I forget exactly how it works, but it's pretty cool. It's just a loop.
Is that you?
Yeah. Yeah, so there were so many beasties that, and they each have like quite a few different poses and animations. So we only did voice sounds for like, I actually think that one is triggered. Anyway, we only did sounds for when they're like cheer, so they're happy pretty much, they're celebrating. For when they are upset, it's called boo, so they're upset and angry or sad. And then a neutral, which is when you just run into them on the open map. Otherwise it would have been just too many assets.
Was there a BC that you found was really difficult to voice for?
That one that we're hearing now destroyed my voice.
Oh.
I did it so many times trying to get it like intense enough, because you're not seeing the animation here, or maybe the animation just isn't in yet, I'm not sure, but it's very intense looking. And then there's all the BCs that are like weird creatures that most of them we got a clear reference of, like the animal makes a sound, so we just tried to mimic it, but some of them, like that lizard, or not lizard, centipede looking thing in the background, like doesn't really make a real sound, so we had to invent it.
Oh no. Oh, we have Juan in the chat. Did Juan do the centipede sounds?
No, but he did the gecko elugus. Elugus. He did all the versions of that beastie, of which there are many. There's like at least 6 different versions of the same family, for story reasons, and yeah, it's very impressive because it's like a very weird sound. He kind of like runs through how he does it in that Beastie voice video. Yeah, Juan, if you have anything to add about it, feel free.
Yeah, how did you learn that you could make sounds like that?
Yeah.
Oh no.
When I was a kid. Funny to have that without the animation. The chat sounds were Alexis. Alexis was very versatile. She was really good at all the birds, especially.
Other than your voices, were there any other weird or unexpected sources you used during your recording sessions? Or anything differently you used with any of your synths?
Do you remember how we made the synth sounds?
So we at the beginning of this project, we did do a couple sessions of like designing together and then sharing the sounds, and so that we would have like a shared library to pull from when we're designing. And I remember both of us got our synths and made a few recordings of things that we thought would be like the sort of vibe and texture that we wanted. I have like this old actually let me just grab it real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that process of collaborating worked really well. That was one of the first times I usually make a palette for myself when I'm working on a game, so that just means, yeah, like either creating via synthesis or recording sounds or finding them in the library and creating like a catalog that you pull from, which makes it a lot. Oh, look at that.
So yeah, I made most of my sounds that were like synthy stuff on this thing using like its analog presets and everything. So that was nice to utilize.
That looks so cool.
We love a good show and tell.
Yeah. And otherwise, I used a lot of the same sort of effect presets with a couple of plugins to kind of simulate some more kind of old synthy vibes for sounds, and that allowed me to use like other organic sources for sounds, run them through the plugins and filters, and have them have sort of like a bit of a vibe that I kind of used for Beastieball exclusively. So that was another method to get those kinds of sounds.
Did you end up watching the anime as well, Preston? Because
I have not finished Haikyuu, so no spoilers.
Okay,
but
okay.
yeah, so it's great, and it was definitely we had that anime vibe as an inspiration as well.
Yeah, the shared palette thing really helps. It really helps just make everything cohesive and like fit in the same family or world. So it was really helpful.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ultra Nero Mode.
It's a really sweet message. They were saying the sound design is very, very good. My favorite ones are Trat and Castellite, in case it ever comes up.
Those are both Alexis.
Ah.
And also thank you, Equinox Fraction.
Ooh, the synthy stuff sounds really nice and clear. Oh no, this
Yeah, I
isn't
feel
good.
like we gotta. Oh,
That's okay.
well, you tried. I think we got a good mix, though, yeah, of the synthy stuff and the organic stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that stuff is really
Yeah, like-
satisfying.
Yeah, that synth stuff is was really fun to do.
Yep, Preston did a lot of really great, like, impactful sounds. Like, really big sounding, like when you win a game or when you come across I forget what they're called, but the beasties that are difficult to beat. These ones too. Did you provide any sound? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, did you provide any sound clips that would be used in the music? That's a good. I was wondering that myself because for this this character, it almost sounded like the voice was in the music, but I don't know what the timeline of that would be, like the high pitched.
No, that was Olenna. Yeah, I think she included like a lot of vocal samples in a lot of the music, but that we weren't. That was all her. I also love it.
Vocal samples from the voice files themselves from the game.
No, like that she made. I think I did one in one of the sounds, but I forget which one now. I actually have. I sang for a song, which I was told was going to be temp when it happened. And I think it ended up not being, which I was kind of excited about. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll still change, but it's still in there now. So.
Where is it?
It, without giving spoilers, it has to do with a big turtle.
Okay.
I think it's called Turtle Song. Like this sound. I love this sound.
Oh yeah, this stuff was fun.
It's very sporty.
And the big, like, boom.
Mm-hmm.
So satisfying.
Is there anything you learned during development that you'll bring into future projects? Are you thinking of using more synths as you move forward?
I would like to, honestly. Like, I would say that that would be a big thing because I don't typically use synth hardly ever. And it did add a fun flavor. And I think like the process of collaboration was really cool. Like having that shared palette and yeah. What about you, Preston?
Yeah, I agree. Having the shared palette, especially with like because we're all kind of working from home nowadays. Anything to kind of help you feel like you're actually working with your coworkers in a more connected way is very welcome. So uploading to the same library and then using each other's sounds for our own designs and being able to be like, hey, you know that recording you did? Like I was able to use this stuff in my design and all that, or all that sort of stuff is yeah, it's really nice to be able to do.
Yeah. It like changes up. Sometimes I find I get stuck in a track of like doing what I know because I've figured out a way to do things and it works and it's fast, but then like collaborating can make you push outside of your usual process, which is really fun and exciting.
Was there what would you consider the most underrated sound or something you worked extra on that you think most people wouldn't notice but you took a lot of care in? I think something that could fall under this category is the sprint sound. You mentioned that it took a lot of variations or a lot of revisions before you landed on this one that was so fitting.
Yeah, definitely that one. And then also, I think just like the level of detail in the UI that happens when you're playing a game, like all the notifications and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Who made the, I guess they're emotion sounds or reactions when the little faces pop up in the speech bubbles?
That was Preston, and I think it's just one. Like, I don't think we have different sounds for different emotions because I think there's a lot of emotions.
Yeah, they sound good. They're not. They happen so frequently, but they're not intrusive at all.
Oh, you should get one of the balls from one of the. There'll be one in this level.
Okay, let's see if I can
Any
find
level.
one.
I like that sound.
Ooh,
too.
these.
Oh, it didn't happen. That's funny.
Or is it like a specific?
Oh, the like little canister refilling has a sound, but it doesn't seem to be playing.
Oh,
Have to look into that. The
It's a
balls.
great time to find audio bugs.
Yeah. Well, it's still early access, so.
Mhm.
Okay, we have an excuse. Yeah.
I think these balls were the recordings I did, right? The closet recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sound. Yeah, they sound very real, less reverby.
The rolling sounds I thought were also like a very subtle detail that probably no one will notice, but they roll on all the surfaces, right? I think you did
Oh.
that.
They can't stop playing.
Yeah, I love how they pass between each other. Thank you, Opera Queen 85. I'm glad you enjoyed it and that you like our work. And about the sprint sound. And yeah, Hello, Cheer, and Boo were our asset names for the Beastie sounds. And totally, yeah. A lot of, talking about the comment about the sound design and all the different little details that get put into the world. Someone's making them and someone's putting a lot of effort into them, and a lot of the time they don't get noticed, but I think that is okay a lot of the time because I think that they're kind of noticed subconsciously, like they're still affecting people, but
Yeah, you help complement the story, and it's kind of difficult sometimes to not take center stage, but that's exactly what sounds are supposed to do. They're supposed to kind of just complement.
yeah, exactly. I really like the nerd these little guys.
Who did those ones?
That was Greg's sister. It's so cute.
Let's see.
Oh, I guess you can't go on the water yet, hey?
Yeah.
Oh, something that was exciting that happened during the development of Beastieball was Game Maker released the ability for us to put reverb in the game.
Ooh.
Really exciting because when we did Wandersong and Chicory, we had to bake all the reverb in. So this like cave echo, we had to like put that in the assets themselves. So it just made it's so much more work. You had to add so many more assets. But now it's coming from Game Maker, which is great.
That saves a lot of time.
Yeah. And like it just allows it. Like these voices have the reverb too. Like I think maybe not that many people notice, but like in Chicory or Wander Song, only certain things have reverb.
The cave echo is something I've noticed after an hour of Shiny hunting the caves. After an hour, the subtlety. Oh, they're so cute. I feel so bad when they are just one hit.
Yeah, for noticing things being missing with that process, like how we find sounds that need to be done. Most of the time, some games are different. Sometimes the developer will give us a list or something like that, but usually we just have to play the game and like make the list ourselves and get the captures ourselves. So sometimes things do like pop up later that we noticed that was kind of like in this corner that we hadn't been to for a while. Sometimes it makes playing, or like depending on the game too, it can be challenging if it's like a really big game.
We are reaching the end of our hour, and the guy with the drill is back. But I like to end off the streams with this question. Is there a lesson that you learned during development that you think aspiring sound designers or game devs should know?
I would say that the human voice is way more flexible and like malleable than you would think. It can make so many different sounds.
Yeah, even from things we weren't expecting, like that boing. I would have never guessed it was Preston.
And yeah, and you're the only person who can use your voice, so it's like you have your own personal instrument.
Yes. And I guess to experiment with new techniques of creating.
I would say one other thing is like, it's good to think about your game's soundscape and sound effects kind of on a whole. If you're kind of looking at it's really easy to look at each individual asset and kind of get your head in like, okay, this needs to sound super cool and the most amazing thing, but if everything sounds that cool and amazing, then it kind of flattens everything as a whole. So it's good to also have a wide perspective on your game, which you can do a lot better by just playing the game more. And yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining. Our socials, you can find Em and Preston's socials on ashellinthepit.com. Juan says, give voice with your voice. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you on the next stream.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thanks for being
Thanks,
here.
everyone.